Hello, and welcome to the DoneJS contributors meeting. Today is Friday, July 28th, 2017. My name is Chase Lahara, and I'm coming to you from Long Beach, California. Today we're joined by core and non-core team members alike. Would y'all mind introducing yourselves?
Yeah, my name is Julian. I'm from Germany.
Yeah.
So yeah, from Germany. So happy to be here.
I'm Justin. I'm from Chicago. Switch it up. Oh, there's Jason.
Hey.
Hey, I'm Kevin. I'm from just outside of Boston.
Oh, Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin. Sorry.
Hey, I'm also Kevin. I am come from the suburbs of Chicago, and I have a public service announcement. You should buy sliced bread. It's much safer than the kind you have to slice yourself.
Sure. Do you have evidence of that?
It's covered, but yeah. Show you the stitches if you want.
Hi, I'm Sheikh from Algiers in Algeria.
Good, yes, sir.
And I'm the only African maybe who uses DoneJS and
You would be surprised by some of our Google Analytics stats. I think you're not the only one. Good to see you. So let's go to statuses. So let's talk about what we contributed this past week, what we're aiming to contribute the following week. Let's go in reverse order today. So we'll go back through. Sheriff, would you mind starting out?
For me, last week I worked on Key. I fixed the bug where I get a promise getter returns null. So it was not a very hard issue. So it was fixed, and Kevin helped me with it, and I saw that the generators on DoneJS for tests were broken, so I fixed them by replacing the acceleration library to.
So aus einer Boygroup oder so.
To human now the human acceleration library is the assert library that we use on DoneJS generators. That's it for for next week. I will continue on fixing issues on ConJS and DoneJS, and so on. That's all for.
Awesome.
Thank
Sounds
you.
great. Yeah, thank you. Kevin Phillips.
Yeah, so this week I worked on a couple things. I did some investigation into the can stash performance. I think maybe I mentioned that last week. I finished that up, and then I have been working on our new can stash binding syntax, which I can demo later. So next week I'm going to try to finish that up, get out a CanJS release that includes the new bindings and has all of our guides and demos and stuff updated to use the new bindings, and then probably update the DoneJS guides also. That's the goal for next week.
Cool. Sounds good. Kevin Dillon.
Hey, so I've been continuing to work on the accuracy of events in FunkUnit, and that stuff is coming from Sin. I created a little tool to hopefully streamline the process because it's a little bit painful to actually go in and record them all and make sure that they're playing back properly. But I've also spent a little bit of time. There's a bug in FunkUnit where the offsets aren't working. It's always clicking in the center of stuff, or it's always interacting with the center of stuff. So I have a fix for that, but I still have to write a test for it. So that's me.
Justin.
So this week I worked on a Steel.js presentation. I basically just took the progressive loading guide and then went through it, manually recorded it, and chopped it up in like 40 different videos, and then made that a presentation. The cool thing about it is you can get through that all in about 30 minutes. I think it's pretty informative. I went head-to-head against someone who was presenting about Webpack. And my presentation was definitely better received, though I am a contributor to Steel.js. And this was just some guy's first time presenting ever. So I think he did really well. But it helps when you know something's inside and out. And then the next day, I had a DoneJS. There was a DoneJS Chicago meetup. We had pretty good attendance. We had 40 people sign up. And we had about 18 attend, which is about right. You always take about a little bit under half, like 2 people under half, always seem to show up to meetups. So that was really good. I'm gonna demo the sign up and log out recipe that I made today. So, and then next week is all gonna be me working on the stream stuff, getting ready for that conference presentation.
Cool. Sounds great. Julian.
So yeah, I watched some YouTube videos about styling within JavaScript. So I looked into this JSS package, I think it's called, and I want to use that with Steel, but I came up with some trouble of loading that module with Steel. And yeah, I posted an issue about that. So maybe if we fix that, or we have an idea what's the problem, I can work on that to integrate the JSS module to style your components right in your JavaScript. So you don't need to include any style sheets anymore. Maybe it's a little project as what I just working on.
Cool. Sounds good. And then, so this past week, I worked with one of the Bitovians on a Can Migrate blog post. Also worked with another Bitovian on making sure that all of our repos have license files. All of our open source is MIT licensed, so getting those license files in place, we were missing some. I deployed most of our websites, and I'll demo some of the new stuff when we get to demos. I released a new version of DocumentJS. So DocumentJS 0.5 fixes the jQuery endment dependency when you're using it in a CanJS 3 project. So that's out. And then I updated and merged a bunch of PRs that we kind of just had sitting open. So I'll demo a couple of those today. And then next week, we have more blog posts. I mentioned the Can Migrate one. We've got some others, so I'm going to help with those, and then focus more on outside evangelism. So that's my status. Let's go to, we're going to mix it up a little bit today. And then we go into topics that were posted on the forums. We're going to mix things up today and try and make this a continual habit to have demos. So whatever the contributors were working on during the last week or two, that they can show off, having demos for those. Chris, I think you had posted about Landscaper. Do you want to talk about what Landscaper is and give us a demo?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just start sharing my screen and keep talking. So Landscaper is a tool. Oh, there we go. Now I know it works. All right. So Landscaper is a command line tool that actually Kevin and I had been working on at the beginning of May, and I just finally got around to working on it fully. So the idea was basically we have a lot of repositories in CanJS, Bitovi, DoneJS, Steel, and there's a lot of changes that we'd like to make, a lot of sweeping changes that are just, you know, like little nitpicks or things that we want to have consistent across our packages. And Landscaper is kind of like Greenkeeper in a way that it's keeping your project up to date or fresh, whatever that means to you. So if anyone's familiar with code mods are basically updates to your code. I mean, I think can migrate was already discussed, and it's the same type of thing. Landscaper just takes it and makes it a little bit more powerful, because you can do basically anything within a code mod. It's not just changing the source files or anything like that. You can add folders, remove folders, duplicate files, whatever you want to do to accomplish your task. So I had a really cool demo planned, but then I realized I'd rather, so my demo was to update the copyright year of just everything to be 2017, but you know, Chasen had to ruin my day and say, well, that's probably not a good idea.
I could have deleted my comments, but I think
okay.
I think your demo still stands because you could rerun. You can like change the code mod to make it do anything, right? So
Yeah.
Sorry to rain on your parade.
No, it's okay. I mean, to be fair, we should talk about these things before I just decide to go and change everything. So I won't do the demo on all of our repositories. Fun fact: we have over 300 between Can, Done, and Steel. So that would probably kill my battery anyway. So I'm just going to play it safe because it is a demo, and I'm just going to do some of my personal projects because I'm definitely cool with changing the copyright year for some of them. So I'm going to show a demo of Landscaper. Oh, by the way, this code mod, this is the entire code mod to do what I'm about to do. So basically, we are searching for a license file to see if it exists, handling the cases where we can't find it, and then I'm just doing a regular expression on the file, looking for anything that starts with the copyright symbol and 20, and I'm just updating it to the current year, and then I'm saving the file back to where it was. So that's all this code mod is doing. I think it's pretty good as far as simplicity of writing these. And so you can just have any gist, and you can just add it right to your landscaper job is what I've decided to call them. So I have my demo job already. So you can see if I go to edit the code mods, the one that I'm going to use is already here. But I'm going to add some GitHub repos. I'm going to add tactic, which is for promises. And yep, that's the branch name I want for master. Right here, that'll be the PR title. And then I'm going to add another JS package. And all the same options. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's another cool thing. I won't show it, but if you wanted to just say, instead of typing these in all manually, if you just wanted to say get all of can.js, you could just do that, and it'll load up all of the repos. I kind of want to do it, but I kind of also not want to because it'll mess up the job, but I'll do it because it looks cool. Here we go. So there I go. I have it all of the repos. I can just, you know, pick exactly what I want, or I'll just pick them all. And bam. So that's what it looks like, all of the can.js repos. But I won't be doing that. So let me just remove those from here. So I'm going to select the ones I actually want to keep. Invert the selection, remove those. Now, okay, so I have my repos that I wanted to work on. So just a preview of what's going to happen. Landscaper is going to clone each of these GitHub repos, going to create a new branch. run the code mod inside of the directory, and then it's going to create a pull request with those changes. So, so I'm just going to run that job now. And I'm going to paste in my secret access token. And bam, we're done. So I'm going to go to this one. Wow, that's the first PR I made to that. I'm so cool. And here we go. So it's got exactly what I want. Check that. And merged. Merge. There we go. So yeah, that's Landscaper. It's a pretty cool tool. I'm going to enjoy using it. It's going to be great for migrating a lot of stuff really fast. So that's my demo.
That is really, really cool, Chris. Does anyone have
Take a bow. Yeah.
For Chris and who else has worked on the Landscaper project?
Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just been me and Kevin, and Kevin's been really excited about it, probably more than me. I just wanted to get it done because I wanted to work on, it's a really cool CLI. I've never had the opportunity to work on something so complex. You know, in a CLI thing, usually it's just web apps. So trying to find a good user experience for people, that was a fun experience for me. So I'm glad I got to work on this.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that, like, anyone who works with the hundreds of DoneJS repos that we have, like, I'm personally very excited about the possibilities. Anyone have questions or comments for Chris?
So the code mods only work with some regex, or can you create the AST and code mod that?
You can do whatever you want. So what Landscaper has, I'll share my screen again because there's some cool stuff to show. Dang. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to go to Landscaper. Right now it's private, but it'll soon be public. Actually, I'm going to show me making it public. That's what we're going to do because we're an open company. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to make that public.
It's rare that you see a project being open source live on air.
Yep. All right. So yeah, so Landscaper. Landscaper has it has support for JS code shift out of the box. So most code mods, when they're written, are written in this format for JavaScript. So you'll have, maybe they have a nice demo on their page. They have code mods that are formatted like this, that will take a file, transform it, and just return the text of the file. But then Landscaper supports super mods, which is the word or the phrase I wanted to call it, where instead of being given a file's text content, you're given a project directory, and within that you can work with whatever. So yeah, you can use AST or whatever you want to accomplish your task, and it'll all work. So like the can migrate code mods will work because they're written in JS code shift. If you wanted to run your code mods for whatever reason through Landscaper for multiple projects, you definitely could do that. So it's very flexible in that way. All right.
Cool. Any other questions or comments? Nope. All right. Thank you, Chris, for showing that off. That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about it.
Cool.
I wanted to show off some really small changes that I made to CanJS and DoneJS. So this past week, I was working on merging a bunch of PRs that we had to open improvements, but just hadn't landed yet. So I want to go through some quick ones for CanJS and DoneJS. So on the CanJS homepage, we've added these kind of getting started links for going straight into our guides. I think this is going to help get people from the homepage right into our guides, which is where we want them to go. And then I want to call out one of the guides that we have is to do MVC with Steel.js. So this goes through, a lot of our guides are just in JS bins. You know, you don't need to show off using CanJS with any module loader or bundler in particular. But we have this to do MVC with Steel.js guide that shows how to, you know, start a new NPM project and use Steel for module loading and to do MVC with it. Previously, we did not, the app was almost completed, but there was a section that was missing. So added this, this section that was missing. One of the things that I really like about this guide is that there's a module that's used for testing. So we have this can to do MVC test module that kind of, as you're building the app, lets you see unit tests, and then you know, as you go through the steps, more and more of the tests pass. Essentially, there's a test for every section. So part of this was updating that module as well. So that was the CanJS thing. And then on DoneJS, actually, I'll point out that on CanJS, for a lot of, let me go back to that section. So a lot of these sections, we have the code highlighting, and then we have these contracted sections where we only want to highlight, or we only want to show the code that is highlighted. But if someone wants to look at the entire file, they can open up the expanded sections and then see what the rest of the code looks like. We did not have that on DoneJS.com. So that's something that we added this past week. So let me go down to a section. So it's the same thing where we only show the highlighted portion, and then you can expand to see the rest of the file. So those are just some quick things that I wanted to call out. Any questions, comments before we move on? Kevin, you had two things to demo. You want to take it away?
Yeah, maybe I'll demo the first one, the performance stuff, and then I can save my other one until after Justin demos. I don't want to steal his thunder because it's the same example. Yeah, let me share my. Yeah, so I just wanted to give a little bit of insight into the CanStash performance investigation I was doing. So we haven't fixed it, but basically I want to present what I found. So this is kind of the summary of my findings is posted here in the issue, and I can kind of show some of this stuff. So we have this spinning circles demo. On the left, we've got the version that's using CanJS 3.8 before we did CanReflect stuff, and then on the right is the latest one. And you can kind of see there's a big difference in this per loop iteration time. This isn't comparing apples to apples exactly because this is the built version of CanJS, and this is not. This is like the development version that still has all of our dev warnings and stuff like that. So it's not the performance isn't necessarily quite as bad as this. But one other thing that's in here is I've added a counter to this observation.add function. So there's this count in here. So we can see how many times we're calling observation.add. You can see in this is kind of tiny, but see in the old example, we're calling it like 500,000 times in this and like 900,000 times in the newest version. So I got to that conclusion by looking at this this bottom up, I don't even know what this is called, of all of the functions that we call, and you can see that observation.add is taking a much higher percentage of the time. So that's why I started looking into that. So then I kind of drilled in a little bit into where we're calling observation.add so many more times, and the biggest culprit is basically we have this new kind of observable called scope key data that's used in CanView scope, and as you can see here, we want to bind to the scope key data, and this should make performance optimizations work. But some of those performance optimizations must be missing, because if we take this out, you can then we can run this again, and you can see this is much faster, and that kind of gives us the performance benefits that we were looking for. Yeah, obviously we can't just do this. This breaks a bunch of other stuff, but that's kind of where I got to in this investigation. Is we need to look into we've added this observation on our scope key data, and we probably are missing, or we have some extra observations on things that don't need to be because we're observing this instead. But we need to kind of drill into that a little more. But yeah, that's what I had. I just wanted to kind of give some insight into the investigation that I did.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks for that, Kevin. So the actual performance was that should have been better. Wasn't necessarily spinning circles. It was the initialization performance. So that's
okay.
what I was concerned about. Is that was about equal, and that should have been much faster at some point. That's a different.
Yeah, that's a different benchmark for that.
Benchmark.
Sure.
But that one, it's good to find, because that one's that's an important benchmark as well. We'll have to take a look at that. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't. When I started, I wasn't sure where, if you had posted somewhere. I couldn't find in our Slack history what the initialization example was that you were looking at. But yeah, that's something we can investigate too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool.
Cool. Any questions, comments before we move on? Justin, do you want to show off the CanJS sign up and login recipe?
Yep. Okay. So this, this guide, it basically just has people building a very basic login and sign up. So you can sign up with an email and password. Saves. There's fixtures set up that really are just simulating the service layer and saving things to local storage. But once you sign up, you can log back out, and then you can go to the login page. You can log in then, and it's as simple as that. It's written all right. I mean, I wasn't using streams or anything to make it more declarative. It's imperative. I really do want to have for every simple, and it doesn't use, just uses can Ajax. It doesn't actually use a service layer. So Bitballs is actually a much better example, and actually Bitcentive is even better than that in how it deals with sessions. So I really want to build an advanced guide at some point, but this is still a good example because it's so small and short just to get people, to make something relatively simple. Oh, it also shows error messages if your username and password don't match. I think it talks about how to design RESTful services pretty well. It introduces people to that. The big thing is that sessions are a different entity than users, right? So I have a user service where I can create users, but when I log someone in, I actually provide a user. When I create a session, I'm actually telling it about its user the session is for. I don't just post a session an email and password. Instead, I post a user with their email and password. So it's useful for learning how to, I think the service layer should look like, and how to build a basic client on top of that. I do want to thank one of the designers, Adri at Bitovi. The good thing is how how fast we can turn this over. I did all of this from just, I had a drawn up prototype that I gave her, and I just started implementing it and built the whole guide in a day. All of this process is getting very, very fast to turn over this kind of thing. And the nice thing I think is CanJS, we're getting a really good collection of some basic, and in this case, complex widgets for people to learn from. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Any questions, comments for Justin?
Justin, what is the font?
That's a good question for Adri.
That was a beautiful font. I like that. I like the at when you did your email. That was like the most crisp I've ever seen. So.
Yeah, it's in the. I don't know if Google Fonts is gonna like.
Looks like it's Railway, is what it's called.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that was really cool for me, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, I thought the same thing when I first saw that @ symbol. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the designers have done a lot of these, and they turn out. You know, before when I did my weekly widgets when CanJS was first starting out, I never got them designed, and I think the little bit of effort a designer could do in an hour really improves the attractiveness of these recipes.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Any other questions, comments?
Why the user and the session entities are separated? I think this this can be decided depending on the authentication method. For example, we don't know if this session is a storageless session like with JWT or with token sessions, or for example, so if we use storage session like PHP sessions or database sessions for storing user information. So with the example like this and separate session and user, it makes confusions for me.
Yeah, so I would say that in all of those cases, it's still good to treat. I mean, as long as a user is can be a permanent thing, like a user is going to have their email, they might have their name, they might have any other kind of settings and those kind of details. That's belongs to the user, and a session is basically has a user. A session is kind of established for a user or possibly multiple users. So when designing service layers, I like that flexibility, is that a session is all about like logging in and logging out and giving like something else credentials, and it kind of carries with that something else. It's like, I am a session for this or for these things. So it could even be users, like, you know, YouTube has, and Google has multiple accounts, right? Like the session is really kind of connected to multiple accounts, and there's like there's the default account, but presumably it could even be making, you know, requests on behalf of all of the users. So generally speaking, from like the start, even no matter what, you're using JSON Web Tokens, you're using, because Bitcentive does it, that uses JSON Web Tokens, or you're using cookies like Bitballs, I still favor keeping my kind of user data and an API separate from my session, creating, deleting, updating, like logging someone in through a session. I don't know. It's just, it provides flexibility. I mean, I guess, is there a case where you would want to go back to a single service? I could see like, well, maybe you don't need to distinguish these things, but I think it's one of those things that like doesn't hurt, right? It's not like I've never been in a situation where I've got multiple and I really need to go back to one.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Other questions or comments? Kevin, want to go back to you?
Yeah. Let me share my screen again. All right. So I am going to present that same login session recipe, but updated to use the new can/stash binding syntaxes. So in the templates down here where we're importing can, I'm using a pre-release of can 3.10, and then the new binding syntaxes. So for events, you can do like this on submit for submit events. You do the same thing for click or for view model property events, anything you want to do. And then for one-way bindings, we've got this to that's saying bind, set this value when email is set. You can also go the other way and say set the email, take it from the value, and then for two-way bindings, you can bind using bind, Yeah, that's you can see another event here. You can see all of these are updated to use the new syntaxes, and everything is actually, I signed up already. Everything is working the same way it was when Justin showed it. So yeah, this is the new syntax. You can do more complicated things like on name by. So if the person's name property changes, it'll trigger this event, that kind of thing. There's some other stuff that we want to make work, like on enter value 2 or something like that. So when you hit the enter button, it'll take the value from an input and pass it to whatever your property is. There's some more complicated things we can do, but this is the basics of the new binding syntax is working.
You would do that with those inputs down there.
Yeah, you
instead of
would
listening
do
to
that.
change, you want to do it on enter.
Yeah, so you do enter. And that way, when you click enter, it will take the
Not click enter, it's the end. Oh, sorry, it was on input. You're right, on enter would work, but I was in my head the input event.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, that's it. That's the new syntax.
This is
so
really, really slick.
yeah, so this is out in pre-releases of can bindings and the main CanJS repo. We should have a final release of can bindings either later today or probably Monday with all the documentation and everything so people can start using it.
Awesome. Any questions, comments? Nope. Cool. Thanks, Kevin. I think those are all of the demos that I saw in the forums. Did anyone else have anything that they wanted to demo? And then I think we only had one topic. So Chris, do you want to talk about the get rid of generated readmes issue?
Yeah, I mean, it is your issue, but basically, we wanted to bring it up. If people find value in having the generated readmes as a part of a project, to me it seems like it could be problematic. So right now, for some repos that are set up to do this, when we make a release, we update the README that's included with the project to show some new documentation changes. And we do that right now. The problem that I see with it is now we have two sources of API documentation. You can look at the README, and then you can look at the CanJS docs. And if one's out of sync with the other, you have a bad experience.
Chris, just to be clear, you're proposing removing the READMEs from like CanJS repos, not from the DoneJS generator.
Yeah, no. Just CanJS.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. Well, I mean, I think it doesn't hurt to have like a little link in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not just going to be no README because that looks ugly on GitHub. But just having a link to the what is it? Canonical documentation.
Yeah, canonical.
Yeah.
I think that the build status would be really good still. I really do like seeing that. And maybe just a short like blurb again. Like it would be really nice if we could just get the description that the docs would provide anyways and just to have that. But I think that's totally fine. Just to like, this is a blah, 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 blah project. For more information, go here. Here's
And that's just to clean things up and remove that potentially bad experience of where we update the docs on the website, because that's what we're looking at to make sure everyone's on the same page, and then having the README just kind of languish and not get updated. So
and helps NPM as well.
It does?
Well, because that goes to NPM.
Yeah.
And then the NPM page looks bad and isn't getting people to the site. So it's it's bad two places because our READMEs aren't updated.
Yeah, so if there are no objections, we could start doing that. That's a pretty easy landscaper thing to do. If everyone's on board with that and doesn't see a problem with it, I think it would be good. A good change. The other thing was, so Landscaper has, no, not Landscaper, but Greenkeeper has a button on a repo. I had posted in the issue. Let me try and find it real quick while I keep talking, and then I'll share my screen with it. But I wanted to add a button to these new README pages to just have it be very clear that we're linking out to the CanJS site. Let me find it.
I just dropped a link to it in the group chat, so you can find it easily.
All right, cool. Thank you. That was tough. All right. Yeah, so here's the button. I just think having something like this on the README that you click and it takes you to whatever page is relevant, I think that's you know, a very good consistent visual cue we can have for people visiting GitHub to just know, yeah, you see this badge, you can go to the docs. So that was my only other suggestion on this topic.
So you're proposing putting that badge like next to the other badges, next to the the build passing, and then would we also have a link separate from that below, or would that be the link to the documentation?
Well, we can have both. I just think it would be nice to have the consistency across all repos, just in case, like say a module description ran long, then the link to the API docs might be out of sync. So this is just something consistent. You know, it's always there, just with along with all the other badges.
I personally think that just having the text link to the docs is sufficient, and I feel like a bunch of badges, like I don't know, I think the npm badge, the build badge, the maybe greenkeeper badge, like there's a few badges that are worth, but like just adding another one, I don't like, that's something that you have to train people on, or they have to know to look. I don't think it's, I think it's a cool looking badge, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't know if anyone else, that's just my opinion. If anyone else has opinions.
I like the badge mostly because I think it's like a branding thing that would also go on NPM, and it's like colorful, and it's a little bit of our branding on GitHub and NPM sites. And it's just like, if people saw it enough, especially, I mean, I see it as real. I mean, if we're not, we have to have this discussion probably next week about the whole like Bitovi works or whatever for you kind of idea. But if we're going to start having like another project like that, that's just going to have a bunch of utilities, that's kind of a free-for-all kind of thing, having a badge like that that people land on, especially on things like can.nd JSON stream, and they're just like, they see CanJS, and then they see CanJS, and they see CanJS, and they, oh, they've got like 3 other little CanJS things when they go to NPM, and they're like, oh, maybe, you know, I mean, I guess if we're bringing them to the docs anyways, it's probably they're going to see it no matter what. But I still like the, like, just from a marketing perspective, you want that flashing symbol in people's eyes. So I like it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's just a trade-off of it. Is it too much visual noise? I think it's useful because you come to a project, and if you're not familiar with the badge, you're like, what is this new service? That's kind of misleading. But then also, if you see the badge and you know what CanJS is, you're like, okay, this is a product I can trust. It's reliable. It's like they have badges that say like project, like awesome project, and it's just like a picture of sunglasses. But I can definitely.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I would even slap a DoneJS one on there too for all of our projects. It's just like we tag our stuff with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Like if we had a badge, I guess for the CanJS projects, we'd consistently want it to be for CanJS, but would we do the same for Steel and DoneJS, and then, or would we want to have everything branded under DoneJS? Or
I mean, I'm fine with double. I mean, a lot of people, you go to some projects on NPM, and there's like a wall. It's like a Lego wall of badges. I don't think we're getting anywhere. I don't think we're getting anywhere close to that. And I think we deserve a badge. We're good. We're awesome. Like, I mean, we build good stuff. Like, it has a cohesion, even though it's distributed a million different ways. I think a badge is, you know, and just, I mean, maybe it just works for people. Like, it is like, it's like a sticky thing for people to identify like something. It just, I really like that idea. It's good. It's logos and things like that. They work really well. That kind of stuff.
What I'm thinking of, which is kind of related to what we've been discussing at Bitovi, which is we publish, like there are CAN modules that we publish that are not tied to CanJS, that are just generally useful. A lot of our utilities are. So adding additional branding that makes it look like it's that those modules are just for a specific framework seems to
well, this
go
gets to
against.
This gets to the debate that we were having, right? That's because of CanJS's brand to you, right? If it was like a Lodash badge and it was just some little widget, you would be like, oh, I want to use that more, maybe.
Sure. So yeah, so like this is a bigger part of like the CanJS brand and marketing discussion.
Yeah, I didn't mean to trigger anyone. But yeah, that can be. We can talk about that more next week. But I think we can agree, at least if not on the badge, but on the removing the generated README bits. That was what was important to me. We can always landscape and add or remove 1,000 or 0 badges.
It might be worth just opening a separate issue or adding that into the discussion about the other, whatever issue is open for the branding discussion. But yeah, I think like removing the generated, I mean, I filed the issue, so obviously I think that's a good win. Chris, maybe we can talk about what I'm having in all of our readmes. Let Landscaper run wild.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I'm glad we got that resolved.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions, comments? Nope. I think that was all of the topics that we had in the forums. Did anyone have anything else that they wanted to discuss before we signed off? Nope. Okay. Cool. Everyone who is watching on YouTube, either the live stream or recorded video afterwards, thank you for watching. Guys, thanks for joining, and see you guys next week. Bye.